They're done with the noise. And I want to describe what that actually looks like, what walking away from drama genuinely means for someone who has finally reached that decision, because it's not the dramatic exit people imagine. It's not a declaration, not a scene, not the moment where someone announces they're leaving chaos behind with the kind of energy that is itself chaotic. It's quieter than that. It's a Tuesday morning where they wake up and something has settled, where the exhaustion of a particular way of living has finally exceeded the familiarity of it, where the specific cost of staying in environments and dynamics that require constant management, constant vigilance, constant emotional expenditure, that cost has become something they can no longer rationalize as normal. And in that quiet Tuesday morning settling, they thought of you, not as an escape. That's what I want to establish clearly before anything else, not as the destination that makes the leaving possible, as the specific, grounded, entirely different quality of what exists when they're in your orbit versus what exists in the environment they're leaving. The contrast did something, made visible what had been tolerable by comparison. Let me describe what they've been living in, because I think understanding the environment they're walking away from helps you understand the significance of walking away from it, and helps you understand why the thought of you of your specific, particular, different in quality world keeps arriving. There's been drama in their life, not the casual kind, the sustained kind, the kind that requires ongoing management. That has its own ecosystem, specific people, specific dynamics, specific recurring patterns that seem to resolve and then reconstitute themselves in slightly different form. The kind of environment where something is always requiring attention, always pulling, always demanding a response to something that probably didn't need to become what it became. And they've been in it for long enough that they've partially normalized it, partially adapted, developed the specific skills that surviving in chaotic environments develops: hypervigilance, a particular kind of emotional speed, the ability to read a room and respond before situations escalate. Useful skills, exhausting to maintain, and costly in a way they've been paying without fully accounting for, hold on, there's something I want to examine about the I just want to come over and live with you quality of this energy, because it's specific and I think it deserves careful attention. It's an expression of longing, real, genuine, the space you occupy in my imagination longing. The specific desire of someone who has contrasted where they are with where you are, with the quality of what your life feels like, with the particular atmosphere you carry, with the specific experience of being in your presence, and found the contrast overwhelming. Your life looks like something they want, not your possessions, not your circumstances necessarily, the quality of it, the specific, recognizable quality of a life organized around things that actually matter, where the energy goes toward things worth giving energy to, where the noise is lower and the depth is greater, and the texture of ordinary days has a substance that the drama-filled environment doesn't. They want to be in that, and that wanting is real. But I want to add something here. Wanting to be somewhere peaceful is not the same as being ready to participate in building something with you. Those are different things. And I think the distinction is worth holding. There's an image, someone who has been in a loud, crowded, relentlessly stimulating environment for a long time. The kind that never fully goes quiet, where something is always happening, where rest is always interrupted, where the nervous system has been running at a particular pitch for so long that the pitch feels like the baseline, and then they step outside and hear silence for the first time in a long time. Real silence. The specific, slightly disorienting, profoundly needed silence of somewhere the noise doesn't reach. And the relief of it is immediate and genuine and produces in them a very specific feeling. I want to stay here. I never want to go back. And that feeling, that first breath of real air feeling, is completely real, is not a performance, is the honest response of a system that has been overtaxed, finally encountering something different. But first breath of real air isn't the same as knowing how to live somewhere quiet, isn't the same as having done the interior work that produces a quiet life rather than just escaping to someone else's. And you, your home, your life, your particular quality of existing is not a sanctuary someone gets to rest in without bringing something real to the inhabiting of it. The more I sit with this, the more I keep finding something I want to say directly. This person walking away from drama is genuinely significant. Not because leaving chaos is heroic, it's actually the obvious thing, the thing any honest accounting of the situation would call for. But because choosing to leave something familiar, even when familiar is destructive, requires something, a threshold being crossed, a cost being acknowledged as no longer worth paying. That's real. And what it suggests about where they are is that something has changed. Not everything. Not the completion of whatever interior work the drama-filled period was probably covering, but something, a willingness, a direction. And directions matter, even when they're still developing. Wait, because there's something about what they're moving toward versus what they're moving away from that I want to address. Moving away from is easier than moving toward. The energy of escape is simpler in certain ways than the energy of construction. You can be completely certain you want to leave something without being completely clear about what you want to build instead. You can be done with one thing without being ready for the next. And I want to ask an honest question about this person's situation. Are they moving toward you? Or are they moving away from the drama and you happen to represent the opposite of it? Because those two things can look identical in the early stages. The person running from noise who finds quiet and calls it love. The person exhausted by chaos who encounters stability and feels the contrast as deep feeling. The person who has been in the wrong environments for so long that encountering the right one produces a response that resembles falling but is actually something simpler. Relief, calling itself more than it is. Not necessarily, but possibly, and the difference matters enormously for whether this is something real or something that dissolves when the relief becomes ordinary. I want to describe what you bring that they're responding to, because I think you deserve to understand what specifically it is, what particular quality of yours is producing this wanting. It's your settled quality, the specific deeply Virgo comes from genuine self-knowledge quality of someone who is at home in themselves, who doesn't need external chaos to feel alive, who has constructed a life with enough interior substance that the external environment doesn't need to be constantly stimulating. That settledness, which you've probably stopped noticing because it's simply who you are, is extraordinary to someone coming from consistent unsettledness, is almost magnetic, is producing in them a response that they're interpreting as wanting you specifically, which may be partly true, but is also partly the response of someone whose nervous system has just encountered regulation for the first time in a while and is reacting to the regulation itself. And here's the thing about that. You are not responsible for being someone else's regulation. That's not what you're for. And building a life with someone who primarily needs you to be their stability rather than someone who has found their own stability and wants to build something with yours. Those are very different arrangements. I want to talk about what walking away from drama actually requires, not just the leaving, the after. Because people who have been in chaotic environments carry the environment with them in ways they don't always realize. The nervous system that learned to operate in chaos doesn't immediately recalibrate in quiet. The patterns that formed in response to constant noise don't dissolve just because the noise has stopped. And sometimes, and this is the part I want to say with care, sometimes people who leave drama recreate it, not intentionally, not maliciously, because the patterns are so deeply installed that they activate in new environments without the person consciously choosing them. Because regulation feels unfamiliar enough that it produces its own discomfort. Because the quiet they said they wanted turns out to require more from them internally than they anticipated. I'm not saying that's what will happen here. I'm saying it's worth watching for. With the specific patient, nothing escapes my attention, Virgo observation that is one of your greatest gifts. Watch how they handle the quiet, not just whether they seek it, whether they can sustain it. There's something about the living with you energy that I want to address directly. The intimacy of it, the specific, significant level of closeness being expressed in wanting to inhabit your daily life, your ordinary space, your kitchen in the morning, and your routines, and the particular texture of how you move through your days. That's a significant thing to want. And wanting it genuinely, wanting the real version, the full version, the version that includes your needs and your standards and the specific requirements of someone who has built something worth inhabiting, that wanting requires something from the person who has it, a readiness to show up at that level, not just to receive the quality of your life, to contribute to it, to add something, to bring something, to be someone who enhances what already exists rather than someone who wants to rest in what you've built. And that contribution, that genuine adding rather than just receiving, is what you're worth, is what this needs to look like to be worth your yes. The last thing, they're walking away from the drama. That's real. That's a meaningful step. That deserves genuine acknowledgement as the significant thing it is. And walking away from something is the beginning, not the arrival. The space between leaving the old thing and being genuinely ready for something real is where the actual work lives. The interior reckoning with why the drama was tolerable for so long. The honest examination of what they contributed to those environments. The specific, unglamorous work of becoming someone whose choices produce different circumstances rather than someone who escapes current circumstances without changing the patterns that produced them. You are not the destination at the end of leaving. You are possibly, if this develops the way it could, the person they want to build something new with, but only if the building is real. Only if what they're bringing is more than the exhaustion of where they've been. Only if they can show you, not tell you, show you, through the specific ordinary moments that reveal character, that they're becoming someone capable of inhabiting what you offer. Not just wanting it, deserving it. That's the difference worth watching for. And you're extraordinarily equipped to see it clearly. When you let yourself look without the hope obscuring the view, if something in this touched something true, if a moment landed somewhere honest, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me what resonated, even just a few words. It means more than you know.